totally okay. And I'm sure she was speaking in tongues underneath her breath as she does all the time.
What?
She would do that for anything else, but definitely today.
What?
Underneath her breath as she does. She okay. And I'm sure she was speaking in tongues underneath her breath as she does
Does she do?
all the time. She
Did
would do
I
that
hear
for
you
anything.
right? Okay, that's weird. That's super weird. Okay, I didn't realize that was coming. This is throwing me a curveball. Katy Perry and a bunch of other celebrities just went to space. I see this as a direct inversion of what the feminine is supposed to be. Now, before I get into this video, I want to make it very clear. I'm not saying that women can't be high achievers, they can't be successful, they can't own businesses, they can't make breakthroughs in society. But the way this is framed is a complete psyop, in my opinion. And I think there's deep symbolism around this that is pretty much evil. And I don't need to go too deep into that, but I just want to show you how society at large is trying to inverse what God intended us to be. It's trying to make men more like women. It's trying to make women more like men. And I actually see all of this connecting back to the stripping away of the Virgin Mary. And I say Virgin Mary because it's not just about virginity in terms of abstaining from sex. It's actually way deeper than that. Virgin is about devotion. That's really what a Virgin Mary is. Now, obviously, there's the literal Virgin Mary, and I don't find it coincidental at all that, low church strips away that as well. I actually think it's very detrimental because when you strip away the sacred feminine, it's always replaced with something else. And I even see this amongst church circles. For those of you who know my background, I was in the New Age for 15 years, built the biggest New Age social media agency, and then Christ pretty much called me home and I became Christian. In the New Age, there's like goddess worship. This is very, very common. But in a lot of the mainstream, low church kind of social media Christianity, there's a lot of feminine goddessy type worship too, and they disguise it as like, yeah, it's all about Jesus. But a lot of times it's actually not. And I think that's actually happening because low church strips away the Virgin Mary. And that's very problematic from a literal, but also like a symbolic and psychological lens, which is typically how I look at things. Something I see common in Christian circles is that there is a dismissal of certain humanistic traits. In the New Age, they would call this shadow work. And, I'm not your typical like New Age to Jesus person where I'm going to demonize every aspect of the New Age. I think that's very it's just not intelligent, to be honest. If you can't hold two different positions, but see and understand aspects of the other one, I don't really think you're that intelligent. And if you just run to like, that is evil, that is demonic, you kind of miss the beauty in certain ancient practices. And you can hold that position while still being a Christian. Like, there's a lot of things about the New Age that are demonic, but there are certain things in it that aren't bad. I think they just got taken too far extreme. One of those being shadow work. And I'm gonna connect this all back in a second, but I just want to leave this here for a second. Then I'm gonna get back to this whole Katy Perry and feminism thing. Both women and men, we have a dark side. The dark side in men manifests different than the dark side in women. And there's this really like kind of big concept in the New Age called like, you got to integrate your shadow and you got to lean into the darkness and you got to bring that into you to shed light on it. And it's actually not entirely wrong. It's just way blown out of the proportion. And there's not a God you're submitting to. So you kind of get pulled into the darkness and you don't really necessarily always make it light. You typically just make the darkness a part of you. Instead of actually integrating it properly. And you really can't do that without Christ. It's actually impossible. At least that's the way I understand it now. And I mean, there's a Bible verse that says you have to be as innocent as doves and wise as serpents. And I would argue most low church Christian circles totally abandon that verse. They don't know what it means. They don't know how to apply that to their life psychologically because they are too afraid to do anything that might be seen as un-Jesus-like or unholy or any of these things. Now, again, this is take lots of grains of salt with this because this all can be blown out of proportion. But for men, speaking as a man for myself, there was a time in my life where I was sexually assaulted, I was taken advantage of, I was weak physically, mentally, spiritually. And as I got older, instead of like trying to become dangerous, I actually became harmless. I became a super nice guy. I was a people pleaser. I couldn't tell women no and couldn't tell anyone no for that matter of fact. And I never struggled with women, but I struggled with keeping them because they essentially weren't attracted to me because I was a very nice, kind person, but I had none of that strength. And to have strength, you need a bit of that darkness. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, it has to be under your control and it can't be unconscious. I say that all to say that there is a place for shadow work in Christianity. If anyone tells you otherwise, that's a very, very slippery slope and something I would firmly reject. I've actually gotten arguments on this with social media with Christians because it's typically women that will tell you that. No offense to women, but they don't really understand, not to be rude, but men specifically, we are warriors, we are fighters, we are protectors, we will die for what we believe in. This is the masculine force within every single man. And our society, including Christianity, is trying to shun that out of men. Like, no, you should not be ambitious. You should not be dangerous. You should not, muckle the waters too much. You should not do this. You should not do that. And because of that, men are getting confused. And then they're trying to shame you with religion. Like, yeah, Jesus was a nice hippie. It's like, no, he wasn't. Jesus was incredibly masculine. There's not a single verse in the scripture where it talks about he laughed. There is 2 times where he weeps, he cries. But I mean, let's talk about the money changers, when he cleanses the temple. This is not a kind Jesus. This is an angry Jesus, and it's righteous anger. But my argument to a lot of women that are afraid of that because they think it's unchristian, it's actually unchristian to do the opposite. Because what's happening in our society right now, and this is going to tie together, so just bear with me. Men are becoming weak because they are being told strength is evil. In Christianity too. I see it all the time. Again, not all Christianity is created equal, but there is this sense of like, you should just be a good person. How the world tries to tell you to be a good Christian. Oh, don't barrel the waters. Keep your opinion to yourself. Don't be bold with your faith. It's like, what? What kind of Christianity was that? Do you know what's given us this church that we get to experience? What's given you that Bible? Thousands of men literally dying, getting their heads chopped off, de-skinned, crucified, amongst other torturous things to give you that Bible. Do you think those were just nice men? These were those kind men? No, those were warriors of God. And we need more of those because it's the masculine that protects the feminine. And you can see that in the first story ever told about the creation of Adam and Eve, the book of Genesis. And I said this in my last video, but if you really look at that story closely, you'll see that it's Eve that ate the apple. It's the men that protect the women, period. That's how it goes. Now, does that mean women are weak? No, it just means that men are called to protect the feminine. And what does that mean? It means to protect their purity, protect their innocence, protect their naivety. I don't know what it is about women, but they can sometimes be a little bit more naive to some of the darker spiritual realities of life. And also feminine men who are men but are more feminine in their temperament, they can also be very naive to the spiritual realities of life. And I know because I used to be that way. So Adam and Eve sinned, but let's just hypothetically say, let's say Adam was, fully integrated. He was fully in his masculine, and he was being the man Christ called him to be. He would have protected Eve. He would have said, wait, God said, don't eat that. And he would have protected her instead of just going passive and letting her pretty much eat it and then he eat it. And then we're here now. So in a sense, we have to look at Adam is responsible as well for Eve's mistakes. Now, obviously, this can be way blown out of proportion. This isn't giving women the victim card. I think it's a very, very dangerous road to go down. But in general, we should be able to own the fact that as men, we have a responsibility for the women in our lives. I think that's a healthy outlook. And flip it around. Women have a responsibility to men. It's a different type of responsibility, but it is that virgin archetype, if you will. It is that pure devotion to one thing, her husband. Now, does that mean you literally have to be a woman who has never had sex with another man? No. Obviously, that would be great if you can, find your man and that's the one you marry, and that's beautiful because that's really how God wants it. But obviously, we live in a fallen world, and that's very, very unlikely in the world we live in. So how does all of this connect to Katy Perry going to space? Well, let me tell you. I'm going to pull up some clips and we're going to essentially just look at these very briefly. It's a really long video. It's like 2.5 hours. You will see there is a psyop happening, and the psyop is very simple. It's to inverse what God created for men and women. And that's the goal of the feminist movement. Okay, so before I get into Katy Perry, I want to talk about the Women's Bible. And a lot of people just don't know this actually is a thing. And it's this group of feminist women, which were really just occultists, who came together and tried to pretty much pervert the word of God. And they created this thing called the Women's Bible. And this was in like the late 1800s. It pretty much says that the only thing standing in the way of women's true liberation is traditional Christianity. Okay. And that word traditional is important because I'm going to tie this also back to low church Protestantism because it is all interwoven. When you see it, you can't unsee it, and it may make you question if you're in an apostolic traditional church, because that is important. Okay, so one of the main contributors to the Women's Bible is this woman named Matilda Gage. Listen to how creepy and weird this is. Matilda Gage was the mother-in-law of the man who wrote Wizard of Oz. Okay, and he, out of his own mouth, said that Matilda Gage was the inspiration for his Good Witch character. And if you understand anything about the Black Order and the White Order, kind of in occultism, I mean, you've looked into like Alice Bailey and these other high-level occultists, is that occultists are essentially blinded. They're so close to the truth, yet they're so far away. And that's because they believe power it just is. There's no such thing as good or bad power. It's essentially just an energy source, and you can channel it based off of your own intentions and your own abilities and this and that. So like Alice Bailey was seen as like a good witch, if you will, and she worked with white magic. That's just not a thing. There's no such thing as white magic. Magic is magic. The fact that L. Frank got inspiration for the witch character from the woman who contributed to the Women's Bible, that essentially said Christianity has to be perverted for women to be totally free, gave this guy the inspiration for his witch character. So that tells you everything you need to know about her. You can dive deeper into this. There's a lot of books about this. I'm not going to talk about it too much. But what I will say about all of these women is that although they did very evil things like trying to pervert Christianity, their intuition is actually kind of right. There is something sacred about the feminine that has been lost. But I would say it's only been lost in low church. It has not been lost in Catholicism. It has not been lost in Orthodoxy. I can only speak to those two traditions. I'm sure, like Reformed Baptist and other, maybe Presbyterian honor the Virgin Mary. And obviously the Virgin Mary is super, super important. But the problem with our culture is that it doesn't honor the Virgin Mary. And you can see that in a very like literal way across different things, church being one of them. And when things aren't in their proper place, they get replaced with usually inversions of what's necessary. I'll give you an example. So I have people in my life who I'm close with, and they are atheist. So they claim they don't worship God. They don't believe in God. They think religion is completely stupid and it makes no sense. Yet those same people, every other weekend, they're driving to different parts of the state or out of state to go experience concerts and certain bands from people like Katy Perry, not literally, but I'm just giving you an example. Although they say, oh no, I don't believe in God, they do believe in God. God is your top value, what you value most in life. Like now, whether that's literally Christ or something else, you still have a God. Nobody is an atheist. That's actually impossible. Everybody worships something. So these people, their church is the liberal agendas. They worship Mother Earth, and they disguise it as environmentalism, but really it's just paganism, and it's just a different form of it. Now, should we appreciate the earth? Yes, obviously. But to say you don't believe in God, but yet you're all for like the radical left and these celebrities pushing these agendas and environmentalism, that is your God. That's your God. Similarly, if the sacred feminine, aka the Virgin Mary, is perverted in any sense, something different replaces it. Now, what that different thing is, that can be a lot of things. I'm not going to dive into that into this video, but I think it's very, 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 very important for our culture to start to recognize what's really going on here, because it will start to make you question why, for like the first 1500 years, did all Christians, including Martin Luther, revere the Virgin Mary? But somehow in the last 300 to 500 years, that's completely gone away. I have my theories as to why. There's books about this. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I alluded to it already. The goal of all of these demonic agendas is to pervert the ideal of God. Like, change it, pervert it, inverse it. That's the goal. And when you do that, it's a lot easier to control people. It's a lot easier to manipulate people, because, like, let's look at men. If you make men weak, docile, tell them that strength is actually wrong, ambition is wrong, protecting and providing is not something you need to do, women should fend for themselves, all you should do is worry about you. From a psychological standpoint, a man, if you do that to him, he's going to become like an incel. You know, he's going to withdraw from society. He's never going to be able to fight or protect or stand up for anything in his life. And he's going to be completely neutered, if you will, have no real masculine energy. He's going to be controlled. And as a byproduct, he's not going to reign with Christ in heaven. You know, I don't believe in just like confessing a belief and that's enough to get into heaven. I don't believe that. And I think a lot of men are being neutered by society, but also by Christianity, into being this weak, docile person that doesn't stand up and fight for and protect those he loves, his God, his family, his mission. And we are seeing the ripples of that through society. And what's being replaced is men with women. And that's where this Katy Perry things come in. The role of the masculine is being replaced by women who are in their masculine energy. It's just an energy thing. Some men are more feminine. Now, in my experience, 99% of the time, that's a learned behavior, usually a byproduct of trauma or something else. Same with women. Most women inherently are more feminine, but because of society and their conditioning and trauma, a lot of times they become more masculine. And that's what we're seeing now with this whole Katy Perry thing. And now this has been happening for years. I think this whole, women going to space and taking up space and these silly clips we're going to look at really just point to the deeper, bolder, satanic ritual to quicken this very evil agenda. Because that's what this was. This was a ritual. And I'm not going to go too deep into the symbolism there, because I personally don't really like talking about that stuff. It's really dark and eerie. But I'll show enough to be like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So let's take a look.
We love you.
We love you.
Bring us back safe.
We're so grateful.
We're counting on you.
We're counting on you. We believe in you too.
Thank you for helping us heal. 3, 2,
Thank you for helping us heal. What the heck?
1. Taking up space!
Okay, so that was a very weird clip. If you notice, they are worshiping something made by humans. I would argue this rocket, probably primarily men worked on it. I don't know that for sure, but men are typically really good engineers. Not that women can't be. I just think it's funny how they are literally putting their faith in this physical object and they're almost worshiping it. Like, do you see the subtle subconscious programming here? It's like, yes, put your faith in this material world. Okay, you're going to help us heal. Like, what does that even mean? And then they end it with take up space. Like, because women are so suppressed, they need to take up more space. It's like, what are you talking about? This is a psyop. This is to tell women you have been suppressed, and what you need to do to break out of this suppression, exactly what the Women's Bible talks about, is to liberate yourself, become a man, achieve in society, work through the ranks. Yes, fight for what you believe in. Like, it's all masculine energy. So it's very subtle. I have my comments about this because, first of all, they didn't really go to space. Is this even real? That's another question you have to ask. Like, is this even real? At this point, I don't even know what to believe, but let's just assume it is. They didn't really go to space. Like, from what I was reading, they were only in the air for like 11 minutes. But this is a ritual. If you see it, you have all of these, highly powerful women, Oprah Winfrey being one of them, kind of like worshiping this achievement, and it's making it look like these like Katy Perry and all these other women, I don't know who they all are responsible for getting themselves into space and making all of this happen, and it's just not. Like, they literally just went on this vehicle that was built by somebody else, and it's clearly just a sponsor for like Jeff Bezos, and obviously it's way deeper than that. This is not just a business thing. This is a ritual, kind of a cult thing that they do. But let's look at some of this. Okay, and then you got Jeff Bezos opening up the hatch, which was all scripted. They showed another version where the women opened up the door.
Her mouth, but really her heart.
And is that Jeff Bezos out there, right?
But they were like, no. And then he gets this hatch. It's like this whole dramatic thing. Now, this is very symbolic, okay? Because there was not a single man with them in their achievement. There was no other guy in that spaceship. So now it's do you see how this is inverting it? It's like, oh, the women just went to work. Now Jeff Bezos, the man, is welcoming back home. Like, it's a complete inversion where it's taking away from the idea of a stay-at-home mother. Again, all this is pointing to is the inversion of what the feminine was called to be. Now, does that mean women, like I said in the beginning of this video, women can't be empowered, women can't do these things? No, not at all. But they're completely going to the opposite extreme of what the feminine was designed to do from God. And if you read Proverbs 31, it's not about just like staying home and doing nothing. That's not the idea at all. It's just like so dramatic. Like, yeah, let me welcome you back home, ladies. Yeah, good job. Like, so weird. All right. This is very interesting. Okay, look, she holds her flower up to the earth, or up to the sky, pretty much praising it as a god, pantheism, worshiping nature, kisses it, comes to the ground, and like you would kiss an icon, kisses earth. Now, is this inherently bad? No, of course not. I've kissed, nature and stuff like that. But this speaks to something deeper. This speaks to worship of earth. And again, Katy's a part of the whole liberal agenda thing, and that's a whole nother conversation. But essentially, in short, they are trying to get people to worship earth. They are trying to get people to worship the creation and not the creator, because the difference in those two things, although they sound so close, is a world of difference. It is a world of difference. And again, like, it's a little dramatic. Sure, going to space, like, assuming it's real, it's not really space, but it would be scary. It's like riding a roller coaster. So I'm not, it is what it is. But again, here we go. More nature worship. Yeah, kiss, bow down to the earth, kiss the earth. That is your God. Materialism, that is your God. See the symbolism here? I went to space. No, you didn't. You went to like maybe below the stratosphere. I mean, I'm sure it's fun. Like, assuming this is real, I'm sure it's awesome. But don't fall for the psyop.
I'm so proud of this crew. Like, I mean, Gail, we were just talking in the capsule, doesn't even have ear piercings. She's so afraid to do anything. And she got in that capsule, and I think, like, it profoundly changed her. I mean, for me, I can't put it into words, but, like, I looked out the window, and we got to see the moon.
It was pink. Was it pink?
Full moon. It wasn't pink, but it was almost full. And Earth looked it was so quiet. It was just quiet. And
is it what you expected?
No.
Better?
Oh, yeah. I don't think you can describe it, because you know what I'm saying? It was like quiet, but then also really alive. And you look at it and you're like, we're all in this together. Like, all I could think about is like, we're so connected, more connected than than you realize, because you just see right here, you see like, states and all these things that like divide us, but we're not.
Again, this is how all this stuff works. Sounds really good at paper. Like, yeah, we're all one. We're all this. We're all that. Well, that's exactly what people like in Osho and other cults and things I used to be a part of would talk about. Oh, we're all one. Next thing you know, you're doing orgies with everybody. It's like there has to be boundaries. And what this is speaking to, again, is the attack towards the masculine's ability to install something like a boundary, where it's like, yeah, of course we all are all one. I get what she's saying, but there is distinctions between persons, like, because what this goes into, which goes back to a lot of the occult satanic movements, is that, they have this whole doctrine that they need to make more people on planet Earth gender neutral, because that will essentially help humanity merge into what they believe is the oversoul, because God doesn't have a gender. So we need to get people to believe this so that we can all transcend. This is actually what these people believe. I mean, it's totally deluded and satanic and evil. But this stuff, like what she's just saying now, this all points to that. And you'll see this in the New Age circles. Like, oh, we're all one. We all come from the same source. We're all going back to the same source. There's nothing you could do that could take away the love of God. We are all one, brothers and sisters. This is why we need strong masculinity to put an end to this crap, because it's not true. It's not true in the way they present it. Not that it's not true. It is true. Obviously, we're all one. But the way they present it is they're trying to strip away the individuation, and that's a very, very dangerous process. This is the same thing Buddhism does, which essentially why enlightenment at the end of the day leads it to suicide. That's what it leads to. It's totally dissolve of personhood, which is a very, 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 very dangerous concept. Now, obviously in Christianity, we have the idea of theosis, but it's a little bit different from this. This is not about liberation from the body. It's about pretty much making your body holy by following Christ. So it's not that the physical is bad and we just need to go back to source. It's like, no, that's not at all what we believe as Christians. But this is all pushing that kind of Gnostic pagan agenda.
You emotional joy, complete and utter joy and gratefulness. Like, it makes me want to come back and just hug everyone and be like, oh my God, we're in this together. Like, that's what this is. And
Jeff had told you that it will change you more than you know. And I know you're only a few minutes removed from the capsule, but I can tell already. Yeah.
So dramatic.
this
So you have to go to space to realize we're all one. Like, come on, it's so stupid.
I don't cry that often. So I didn't expect to be this emotional, but it's also all the love that was in that capsule and all the heart and the feelings and all the things. And like,
I'm going to tell you something right now. You are officially an astronaut.
thank you so much.
How do you feel?
Okay. That's not true. Like, come on. For every woman that actually went to school to become an astronaut, to say that to someone like Katy Perry, who literally got paid to do this, probably went through like some very basic training, assuming it's even real. Like, who knows? Like, literally at this point, I'm so like skeptical of all of this stuff. But that's such a shot at like all the people who actually have achieved in life and went to school and put in the time, the work to become something like an astronaut, like real, like a real woman would. It's just not. It's so degrading on so many levels.
I feel super connected to love. So connected to love.
See, and they always tie it back to an emotion. Like, how does going to space make you feel connected to love? They're trying to take this materialistic idea and connect it to God, because God is love, right? But they're inverting it, right? It's like, oh, Earth and this is our God, and by achieving things, it makes me feel like I have the love of God. It's like, dude, this is all about inversion.
This experience has shown me you never know how much love is inside of you, like how much love you have to give, and how loved you are until the day you launch.
We had these.
Like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? That was like so hypnotic. I don't even know what she's like they're trying to do there. Like, that made no sense. Let's listen to that again.
Super connected to love. So connected to love. I think this experience has shown me you never know how much love is inside of you, like how much love you have to give, and how loved you are until the day you launch.
Until the day you launch. What does that mean? Like, the day you decide to chase your dreams? Is that what she's alluding to? Like, what is that hypnotic programming here? It's so weird. It's like, do you see the Do you see the falseness? That's a very masculine idea. A lot of men feel that way. Like, oh, I can't feel love until I achieve my dreams, go for it, and do all these things. Once I achieve that, then I'm ready for a relationship. And this is very common masculine mindset. It's not really proper in all truth, but there's an aspect of it that's truthful. But to say that to a woman, it's inverting the feminine. It's once you go achieve your dreams and you go for it and you launch, whatever the hell that means, then you can feel love, then you can feel connected, then you can feel whatever else she said. It's like, no, women, as the Virgin Mary shows us, are here to nurture, are here to give love, are here to be the heart of a household, are here to be mothers, are here to care and be like the soul that keeps things together. That's the beauty of women. They're so beautiful. But to pervert that and say, no, like you have to go achieve, you have to go out and make it happen. It's just a total attack on the sacred feminine and or the Virgin Mary. That's what it is. What did the Virgin Mary achieve? The most important thing in the world, giving birth to the Messiah and submitting and saying yes to God. Like, she's the new Eve. Mary is the new Eve. Just like Adam's the new Christ, or Christ is the new Adam, Mary's the new Eve. It's the same idea because Eve disobeyed God. Mary obeyed God, and that birthed the Messiah. Do you see that? Like, that's why the Mary doctrine is very important in Orthodoxy and Catholicism, because like, how can you not see that? And that's totally backed up by scripture. And I'm not really qualified to go into that, but I've read enough about it and seen the connections. It's all right there. Mary is literally the art of the covenant. Like, that's what she is, the new ark.
You as the rocket, it'll make me cry. As the rocket's going up, and she was so proud. Just kept saying, "Mommy, mommy." And I know you'll feel the same way when you watch it. And you brought a real life Daisy up.
That's
it was
right.
Important for you, not only because it's your daughter's name, but why else was that important to bring it?
Daisies are common flowers, but they grow through any condition. They grow through cement, they go through cracks, they go through walls. They are resilient, they are powerful, they are strong, they are everywhere. Flowers are, to me, God's smile, but it's also a reminder of our beautiful earth and the flowers here and God's smile and the beautiful magic that is everywhere, all around us, and even in a simple daisy. So to really appreciate it and remember it and take care of it.
Okay, sure. There's a lot of beauty in that, right? Like, that's not wrong what she's saying, but what I would be skeptical of or critical of, or discerning of, maybe that's the better word to use, is that she's mixing like God and paganism and magic. It's kind of like all becoming this one thing, aka New Age. That's what New Age is. And when I say that in other videos, the reason I say the New Age is a little bit of this, a little bit of that, is because if you look at the symbolism of the devil or the Baphomet, like you'll see like it's got like boobs, a goat head, human parts, but kind of not human. It's a mixture and blend of all these things, and that's what evil is. It's taking something holy and perverting it just slightly, where it's like there's just enough to like where you're like, is that beautiful or ugly? And that's what the demonic does. Is it's very subtle, just like this, very subtle. Like if you just watch this very passively and you're not like a hawk kind of listening very closely, you wouldn't think twice. But that's what this stuff does, is it bypasses the conscious mind and it goes right into the subconscious mind. And if you've studied the occult, you know the freakish power of that. And they're doing this at mass. And that's why if you look in the corner here, there's over 115,000 people watching this. Like crazy.
Gail shared with us the song that you sang when you got up there. What a Wonderful World. Why was that important to sing that particular song?
I've covered that song in the past, and obviously, like, my higher self is always steering the ship.
Here you go. So she was just talking about God. Now she's talking about higher self. It's like, which is it?
I had no clue that what
My higher self is steering the ship. What does that mean? Is that your God? You? Okay, Lucifer.
day I would decide to sing a little bit of that in space. But I think that it's not about me. It's not about singing my songs. It's about
Oh, yeah, right. It's not about me.
collective energy in there. It's about
here you
us. It's
go.
about making space for future women and taking up space.
I love that wordplay, taking up space. Like, come on. What kind of crap is this?
And belonging. And
Belonging, because you're so not allowed in society. It's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
It's about this
inversion.
wonderful world that we see right out there and appreciating it. This is all for the benefit of Earth.
You have done so many.
Okay, how like my head can't comprehend it. Even if I'm trying to give her all the benefits of doubt, how does going to space for 15 minutes benefit Earth? What does that do to Earth? What does any of this have to do with women empowerment? Like, do you see the psyop? How is this connecting? It's like, it's just all emotionalism. It's appealing to, people who are broken and don't have discernment and probably don't have good masculine figures in their life and are buying into this. And when I say that, I'm also talking to men, because there's a lot of feminine men that will eat this up. Like, you go, girl. Yeah, you went to space, you badass. Go kick ass. It's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, where is your masculinity? Like, I can't see it. Show me it. Oh, gosh. I can't stand this stuff.
Selling millions of records, selling out stadiums. Where does this experience rate for you?
This experience is second to being a mom. Yeah, that's it. And that's why it was hard for me to go.
All right, that's a positive. She put motherhood above achievement. That's great. I think that was probably actually a genuine answer. That's her feminine coming out. But then it's like, oh wait, no, I gotta talk about the psyop. Let me bring in the agenda.
Because that's all my love right there. And I have to surrender and trust that the universe is going to take care of me and protect me, and also my family, my daughter. Because like, I'm full up from being able to get that gift of being a mom, and to go to space is incredible. And I wanted to model courage and worthiness and fearlessness.
You did. You said you wanted to go to space for the fearless women in your life as well, your sister and your mom. Yeah. What was their reaction when you got to see them after you got off the capsule?
I have only seen my mom, and I was like, "Are you okay, Mom?" She just knew. She knew. She was totally okay, and I'm sure she was speaking in tongues underneath her breath, as she does all the time.
What?
She would do that for anything else, but definitely today.
What?
Underneath her breath, as she does. Mom, she just knew. She knew. She was totally okay, and I'm sure she was speaking in tongues underneath her breath, as she does all the time. She would do that for anything. I have only seen my mom, and I was like, "Are you okay, Mom?" She just knew. She knew. She was totally okay, and I'm sure she was speaking in tongues underneath her breath, as she does.
Okay, that's weird. That's super weird. Okay, I didn't realize that was coming. This is throwing me a curveball. Oh gosh, yeah, because don't people say like Katy Perry's Christian or something? Okay, clearly not. And the fact that her mom is Christian and speaking in tongues tells me everything I need to know about her version of Christianity. It's all about emotionalism. It's all about stirring the passion. It's all about tongues. And if you've seen my other videos, I've talked about this extensively. And I'm probably one of the few people you will hear me talk this boldly about tongues and how I think it's actually just a demonic deception. Because when I was in the New Age, I spoke in tongues under the influence of this shamanic practice I was doing called holotropic breath work. And I can tell you, based off my experience, it was a demonic tongue. Now, did it feel evil? No, not at all. It came with like a very electric charge of love, but it was super artificial. And for whatever reason, when I spoke in tongues, that like I kept getting the urge to like lay my hands on people and like make people feel this power. So I don't qualify tongues as a Christian thing. Do I believe the gift of tongues can happen in very rare scenarios when you're trying to spread the gospel and it's about people understanding the gospel, like in the Bible that it shows us? Yes, but I don't think we're in those times anymore. And there's a few times like some Orthodox saints spoke in tongues to spread the gospel, but that's really the only reason why it would ever be needed. So when people are just babbling, that's a very, 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 very red flag to me, because if you guys know my background, in the Joe Dispenza world, people speak in tongues at his events all the time, and they're getting initiated into higher levels of the occult. So this is not just what you think it is. I'm sorry to tell you. Again, I'm very skeptical of it, and may God judge my heart and know where I stand with this because of my experience, and hopefully drive away from the deception, because there's a lot of people in my current parish that they used to speak in tongues. They were in the Pentecostal stuff, but once they came into Orthodoxy and they started partaking in the liturgy and going through the process of unlearning a lot of the Protestant beliefs, they don't speak in tongues anymore. So there's that. So there's definitely something there. And a lot of Orthodox saints, there's a really good book on this called Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future by a man named Father Seraphim Rose, who was a student of Alan Watts, and he became a Christian and ended up becoming a saint. And he talked a lot about this. He prophesied a lot about this stuff like 40 years ago and 50 years ago, and now it's all coming true about like this Christian revival and what this all means. It's fascinating. He talks about tongues a lot, and I personally came to all the same conclusions on my own. That is bizarre that Katy Perry's mom speaks in these tongues.
All the time. She would do that for anything else, but definitely today. But she was so super confident. My mom,
So weird.
she has this thing where she can see. I mean, even down to the name of like the capsule.
Being tortoise, I know you spoke to all of your fans about that the capsule's named tortoise, the feather on the side.
So her mom has like some like psychic ability or something? That's weird.
The symbol of Blue Origin, all of those gave you confidence that this was the right thing for you to do, correct?
Yeah, because I just asked for a sign from the heavens, from my angels, and they're like,
How many things do you have? The heavens, angels, universe, higher self. Like which is it?
feather, which is what your mother calls you. And if that's not enough, the capsule's named tortoise, which is your second nickname that your mother calls you. And I'm like, okay, I'm going. I got the message and I'm going to get the message.
Before I let you get back to your family, I just had to ask you, describe for us, because you're so brilliant at putting, words together and describing moments that we can all appreciate later. How would you describe the moment when you took off and then the moment you landed?
The moment, I mean, it is the highest high, and it is surrender to the unknown, trust, and this whole journey is not just about going to space. It's the training, it's the team.
That's a very common teaching in different forms of mysticism, where it's all about trusting the unknown, where you get into these spiritual experiences, and typically before something very out of body happens, for example, there'll be some type of challenge where you have to surrender into the experience. And the way I see it now as a Christian is that you have to pretty much give demons the rights to you to take you into this really bizarre spiritual experience. And I've had plenty of those. And although none of them seemed inherently bad or wrong or demonic, I can tell you they were not influenced by God. So they're influenced by something else. I believe those things happened as a byproduct of me pretty much surrendering my free will to something else and letting in something not of God and giving it almost like legal rights to give me a vision or give me like this outer body experience. And if you look into Joe Dispenza, he talks about surrendering to the unknown all the time. So when she says that, it's like, there you go. There you go. Mixing it in. It's not good. Trust the unknown, because what that does is it, again, takes away from the beauty of boundaries. Some things are not meant to be explored, aka the knowledge of good and evil. It's not meant to be explored. God is not commanding you to do that because he doesn't love you. He's commanding you to do that because he does love you, and you have free will, so you can do it. But there's repercussions for not listening to God. It's not because he's a tyrant. It's because, we live in this fallen world and he wants you to be protected, and he gave you guidelines to do that. And that's called the Bible.
It's the whole thing. I couldn't recommend this experience more. This is like up there with all the, different tools that I've learned in my life, from meditation to the Hoffman process. This is up there because what you're doing is you're like really finding the love for yourself, because you got to trust in yourself on this journey.
It's so weird. How does going to space come back to loving yourself if you did nothing to really achieve it? Like, how is that connected? Like, do you see that weird bridge they're trying to draw? It's like, no, that's actually not how self-love works. Not at all, actually. like, so you're telling me if I go pay somebody to give me a college degree and I pay whatever, I don't have to do any work to achieve it. You just give it to me. That can make me feel self-love. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, psyop.
You're feeling the love when you come down, for sure. And
you're feeling the love when you come down. Yeah.
feeling that strength. So I feel really connected to that strong divine feminine right now.
Strong divine feminine. Notice the word inserted. Strong.
By the way, you're such a bad.
Of course. Like, see? Gotta throw it in. They connected something masculine to something that's divine feminine. No, wrong in every sense of the word. This is wrong. This is inversion. There was nothing about what these women did that was inherently feminine. Does it mean women can't achieve? No. Like I said multiple times in this video, women can achieve. They should achieve if that's what they want to do. But they are pedestalizing this version of femininity, which is not the Virgin Mary. This is not the archetype God set up for women to fall into. It's just not. So if it's not the archetype of God, it's the archetype of something else, not of God. And that's when things become problematic. And I feel sorry for all the women in this world and the men, because the psyop is on both sides. But it seems to me it's really more so, at least, I don't know. I mean, from my perspective, it seems it's more targeted at women. Obviously, that's not a black or white thing. That's just my perspective. But when you target women, you automatically target men as well. It's like, because the men are supposed to be the ones protecting the women. So if men aren't protecting women from psyops like this, that falls on men equally. So it's like, it's a better strategy to go after the women, because by going after the women, you naturally attack the men. And vice versa. You know, if you go after the men, you weaken the men, you naturally attack the woman, because men and women are made to be together. Like, we are designed to thrive together and pull out the best of each other with each other, not separate from each other. It's like that whole stupid, like, oh, your relationship shouldn't be codependent. It's like, what the hell does that even mean? No, codependent isn't bad. Like, you should be able to lean on your partner in a time of need. It doesn't mean they fill you up and like you have no backbone without them. No, of course not. But that concept of codependent is so misleading. It's like, so you're saying you don't need them? That makes you weak if you need somebody? It's like, no. Women need men, men need women. When you're born as a child, you breastfeed from your mother. She literally gives herself to you. Literally. And this connects actually back to the holy sacrament of blood and body of our Lord Jesus Christ, how he nourishes us with a mystical supper that can very much be connected to breastfeeding in a weird way. And I'm not going to go too deep into that, but it's nourishment for the soul, and it gives us everlasting life. And he talks about this in the Gospels, and some people want to say, oh, no, it's just symbolic. It's just symbolic. No, it's not. Like, no, it's not. If that's your version of Christianity, I'm sorry to tell you, it's flawed. No Christian would ever agree with you for like 1700 years of the history of Christianity. And you know, there's books you can actually read about how the disciples worship. Like, you can read about it. It's there, and how the disciples of their disciples worshiped, and what their liturgical process was, what it looked like. And what you'll find is pretty much the Orthodox Church. So, and again, I'm not saying you have to be Orthodox or you're not Christian. I don't believe that. You have to partake in the sacraments to be initiated into the body of Christ. Baptism, it's an initiation into the mystical body of God. Just because it's a ritual doesn't mean it's a satanic ritual. Like, this is where people who don't really understand the occult just misunderstand this. Like, mysticism isn't necessarily bad. If you don't think there's an aspect of mysticism in Christianity, you are so naive, it's ridiculous. Like, what do you think a baptism is? Like, baptized in the Spirit? What does that mean? It's a mystical process. It's a mystery. You can't fully understand it. But if you even take Christianity out of it and you look at initiations that other cultures put boys through, specifically certain cultures in Africa and these different tribes, where they initiate boys at a certain age, where it's pretty much a rites of passage, where it's all about, at a certain age, usually around 12, 13, they take these boys through these really intense rituals. Sometimes they circumcise them. Sometimes they make them fight another man. Sometimes they take them to the wilderness and make them survive. And this is something men and women have to go through. Women initiations are slightly different, but men, they have to go through these initiations because it takes them from boy to man. And same with women. One of the women's first initiation is having her first period. You know, that is an initiation that happens by nature. See, men are initiated by life. Women are initiated by nature. Some men, they're 50 years old and they're still a boy because they never got initiated by life. They didn't accept the initiation. They didn't accept the challenge, so they shied down. And women, on the other hand, you know, they don't really have the option. It's like nature initiates you. And there's a reason for that. And it goes back to, you know, the Virgin Mary. So, and I think if your church is downplaying Mary, it's very bad. And maybe I'll do another video about that, pulling from different sources that can help people get a more wholesome view of Christianity. Because a lot of Christians will say like, oh, Orthodox don't abide by the Bible. It's like, actually, that's not at all been my experience, not in the slightest. That's just a steel man used from low church Protestants to discourage people looking into apostolic Christianity. All of them honor the Theotokos, like the mother of God, and not that she was not created. Like, that's what people don't understand. Mary is a creature. But it says in the gospel, she abided God. So she had a certain amount of grace. Hail Mary, full of grace. The Lord is with thee. Hail Mary, full of grace. You who are highly favored, the Lord is with you. But the angel said, Mary was troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. How do you find favor with God? You will conceive, you will have Jesus. You will have the Messiah. And she had free will. She could have said no. She could have rejected that. But she didn't. She abided by God's command. She abided by submitting to something higher, being virginal, which gave her this grace because she remained pure. So that gave her favor with this angel, with God. So she had the honor of birthing Christ. So I find it funny when people are like, oh, Mary's just like everyone else. She's just a sinner. Really? I don't see other women just having favor with God and getting all of this grace bestowed upon them. Like, this is anti-biblical to say anything otherwise. So you have to see how this stuff connects, and it's deeper, and maybe I'll do another video about Mary in the future. But in short, Mary replaces Eve. Okay, she's the new prototype, because the first prototype from God was clearly flawed. So Mary's kind of like that new model, and through that we get the Messiah. So it's important. Like, again, do you have to abide by all the Mary doctrine? No, but from a feminine standpoint, why would you not at least look up to Mary as a role model? Like, what's wrong with that? Wanting to remain pure and virginal? There's nothing wrong with that. This is beautiful. And I think our culture could benefit from more people holding back from having sex until they're married. I think it's a beautiful concept. Obviously, really hard in practice, but once you become a Christian and you're not married, if you're still sleeping around, like, are you really a Christian? Like, I don't want to be rude, but that's why I don't like the once saved, always saved thing, because it kind of just lets you get away with things. And I think that's a dangerous way to live versus like, hey, once you're in Christ, you're in a new creation, and that means you have to follow his commandments. He literally says it. If you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Like, I don't know how much more clear that is. So I digress. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.